Jake Morrison opened his eyes and saw nothing but darkness. His head was pounding like someone had hit him with a hammer. His mouth was dry and his body felt heavy. He tried to move his arms, but they would not listen to him. Something cold was wrapped around his wrists. He blinked several times, and slowly the darkness became less dark. Strange blue lights glowed on the walls around him. The walls were not like any walls he had ever seen. They looked alive. Veins of soft blue light ran through them like blood through a body. The air smelled wrong. It was thick and had a strange sweetness to it that made him feel sick. Jake tried to remember what had happened. He was a Marine. He had been stationed in San Diego. There was an attack. Strange creatures came from the sky. They were tall and had bodies like insects. Their eyes were huge and black. They killed so many people. Jake had fought them. He remembered shooting at them and watching them fall. Then there was a bright light and nothing else. Now he was here. Wherever here was. He pulled at the restraints on his wrists. They were made of some kind of metal he did not recognize. It was smooth and warm to the touch. He pulled harder. The metal groaned. Jake was surprised by how strong he felt. He had always been strong, but this was different. He pulled again and the restraints snapped open. Jake sat up and looked at his arms. There were small holes where needles had been. Tubes lay on the floor next to him, still dripping with some green liquid. They had been putting something inside him. He did not know what it was, but he could feel it in his blood. His muscles felt like they were on fire, but in a good way. Like they were waking up for the first time. He got off the table he had been lying on and stood up. His legs were shaky at first, but they grew steady fast. He looked around the room. There were other tables, but they were empty. Strange machines stood against the walls. They made soft humming sounds and had lights that blinked in patterns he did not understand. A door opened on the far side of the room. Jake turned and saw one of them. One of the creatures that had attacked his city. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with a body covered in hard shell-like armor. Its head was shaped like a triangle, and its eyes were like 2 big black mirrors. It made a clicking sound when it saw him standing free. More of them came through the door. They were carrying weapons that looked like long poles with glowing tips. They pointed these weapons at Jake and made more clicking sounds. He could not understand them, but he knew what they wanted. They wanted him to surrender. Jake did not surrender. He grabbed the metal table he had been lying on and threw it at them. It flew through the air faster than he expected and hit the first creature hard. The creature fell backward into the others. Jake ran at them before they could recover. He grabbed one by its arm and twisted. The arm broke with a loud crack. The creature screamed, a high-pitched sound that hurt his ears. Another creature swung its weapon at him. Jake caught it and pulled it away. He used the weapon like a club and hit the creature across its head. It fell and did not get up. More were coming through the door now. Jake kept fighting. He did not know how long the fight lasted. It felt like forever, and like no time at all. Then everything stopped. A new creature entered the room, and all the others moved away from Jake. This one was different. It was taller than the rest and wore long silver robes that flowed behind it like water. Its shell was darker, almost black, and covered with markings that looked like writing. A crown of some kind sat upon its head, made of the same glowing blue material as the lights on the walls. Jake stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard. Dead and wounded creatures lay around him. Green blood covered his hands. He raised his fists, ready to fight this new enemy, but the creature did not attack. It moved toward him slowly and gracefully. It raised one clawed hand and made a gesture. The soldiers behind it lowered their weapons and backed away even further. Then it spoke. The words were strange at first, full of clicks and hisses. But then they changed. They became English. Broken and strange, but English. "You are awake," the creature said. His voice was soft and had a strange echo to it. "This is good. Where am I?" Jake demanded. "What have you done to me?" "You are on my ship," the creature said. "The Volthorn. I am Queen Verena of the Kethari Empire. And you, human, are very special." Jake did not lower his fists. "I want answers, now." The queen moved closer. She was not afraid of him. Jake could see that clearly. She looked at him the way a scientist might look at something interesting under a microscope. But there was something else in those big, dark eyes. Something like hope. "Your kind calls themselves humans," Verena said. We have watched you for some time. You are strong. Stronger than you know. But you were nothing compared to what you are now. What did you put in me?" "A gift," the queen said. "A serum that makes you more, faster, stronger, better. We have given it to many of your kind. Most of them died. Some of them survived but were weak. You are different." She stepped even closer. Jake could smell her now. She smelled like metal and flowers mixed together. Her eyes held his and would not let go. "Your body did not just accept the serum," she whispered. "It welcomed it, changed it, made it part of you in ways we did not expect. And when that happened, something else happened too." "What are you talking about?" The queen leaned in close. Her face was inches from his. He could see himself reflected in her dark eyes. She whispered the next words so quietly that only he could hear them. "Your strength has already bound us. You and I are connected now. A bond that cannot be broken. You cannot leave because if you do, we both die." Jake stared at her. His heart was pounding in his chest. He wanted to call her a liar. He wanted to break free and find a way back to Earth. But something deep inside him told him she was speaking the truth. He could feel it. A warmth in his chest that was not his own. An echo of emotions that belonged to someone else. He looked at the alien queen and knew that his life would never be the same again. "What do you want from me?" he asked. The queen smiled. It was a strange expression on her face, like she was not used to making it. "I want you to help me save my people," she said. "And in return, I will help you save yours." The attack came without warning. Jake was eating a meal in his quarters when the entire ship shook like a giant had grabbed it and tried to tear it apart. Alarms screamed through the corridors. The blue lights on the walls turned red. Through the window he saw flashes of light in the darkness of space. Ships were out there. Ships that were shooting at them. He ran out of his room and into chaos. Kethari soldiers were rushing in every direction. Officers shouted orders in their clicking language. Smoke poured from holes in the walls where explosions had ripped through metal. Jake grabbed a soldier who was running past. "What is happening?" The soldier looked at him with fear in its eyes. "The Nethfer. They found us. They brought a whole fleet." Jake had heard about the Nethfer. They were the enemy the Kethari had been fighting for centuries. A race of reptilian creatures who were larger and stronger than the Kethari. They wanted to destroy the Empire and take everything it had. Another explosion rocked the ship. This one was closer. Jake was thrown against the wall. When he got back to his feet, he saw that part of the corridor had collapsed. Fire was spreading from broken power lines. He needed to find the queen. He could feel her through the bond. She was afraid but trying not to show it. She was on the command deck, far above where he was now. But before he could move, he heard a new sound. Metal scraping against metal. Something was cutting through the hull of the ship. The wall next to him exploded inward. Through the smoke and fire came creatures Jake had never seen before. They were huge, at least 8 feet tall, covered in thick green scales. Their heads were flat like snakes and their mouths were full of sharp teeth. They carried weapons that looked like axes made of glowing energy. Neth single quotes VOR. The enemy was boarding the ship. One of them saw Jake and roared. It swung its axe at his head. Jake ducked, and the weapon cut through the wall behind him like it was made of paper. He grabbed the creature's arm and twisted with all his strength. The arm broke, but the creature barely seemed to notice. It hit Jake with its other hand and sent him flying down the corridor. Jake hit the ground hard. His ribs screamed with pain, but the serum the Cathari had put in him was already working. The pain faded. His body healed faster than it should. He got back up. More Nethver were coming through the breach. Cathari soldiers tried to stop them, but they were too weak. The Nethver cut through them like they were nothing. Green blood painted the walls. Jake needed a weapon. He saw a fallen Cathari soldier and grabbed the energy blade from its hand. It was lighter than he expected. The blade hummed with power when he gripped it. He charged at the Nethver. What happened next would be talked about for years to come. Soldiers who survived that day told the story to anyone who would listen. They said they saw a human fight like no creature they had ever known. Jake moved through the enemy like water through rocks. The Nethver were strong, but they were slow. Jake was faster. He ducked under their attacks and struck at their weak points. He cut tendons and sliced through scales. He broke bones with his bare hands when his blade was stuck in a body. They tried to surround him, but he would not let them. He kept moving, always moving. One Nethver grabbed him from behind. Jake threw himself backward and crushed the creature against the wall. Another swung at him with an axe. He caught the weapon, ripped it from the creature's hands, and used it to take off its head. The Cathari soldiers who were still alive stopped fighting to watch. They had never seen anything like this. This human was doing what a dozen of them could not. More Nethver poured through the breach. There were too many. Even Jake could not fight them all. He needed to seal the hole in the ship or they would keep coming. He saw a control panel on the wall near the breach. If he could reach it, he might be able to close the emergency doors. But the Nethver were between him and the panel. Jake ran at them anyway. He took hits as he fought his way through. An axe cut his shoulder. Claws raked across his back, but he did not stop. He could not stop. He pushed through the pain and kept going. Finally, he reached the panel. A Nethver grabbed him from behind and tried to pull him away. Jake elbowed it in the face and slammed his fist on the controls. Heavy doors began to close. The Nethver screamed and tried to get back to the breach before they were trapped. Some made it. Others did not. The doors crushed them as they came together. When the doors finally sealed, the corridor was quiet. Bodies lay everywhere. Most of them were Neth single quotes VOR. Jake collapsed against the wall. He was covered in blood, both his own and the enemy's. His body was shaking. The serum was working hard to heal his wounds, but there were so many of them. Commander Zeth appeared at the end of the corridor. He had a group of soldiers with him. They stopped when they saw the scene in front of them. Zeth walked slowly through the bodies. He counted the dead Nethver. His expression was impossible to read. Finally, he stopped in front of Jake. "You did this?" Zeth asked. Jake nodded. He did not have the energy to speak. Zeth was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something Jake did not expect. He knelt down on one knee and lowered his head. "I was wrong about you," Zeth said. "You are not an animal. You are a warrior. Please accept my apology." Jake looked at him. A few days ago, this creature had threatened to kill him. Now he was kneeling before him like Jake was a hero. "Get up," Jake said. "The fight is not over." Zeth rose. There was new respect in his eyes. "The enemy fleet is retreating. Your actions here gave us time to launch our counterattack. We have won this battle." Word of what Jake had done spread through the ship within hours. Soldiers who had seen the fight told others. Those others told more. By the end of the day, Everyone on the Velthorin knew about the human who had fought off a Nephir boarding party almost single-handedly. They started calling him the Bonded One. It was a title that had not been used in 1,000 years. It was given to warriors who had proven themselves beyond all doubt. When Jake was finally well enough to move, he went to find Ryan. The Queen had kept her word. Ryan had been moved to better quarters. The experiments had been stopped. He was still weak, but he was alive. "I heard what you did," Ryan said when Jake walked in. "They say you killed 30 Nephir by yourself." "I did not count," Jake replied. Ryan laughed. It was a weak sound, but it was real. Same old Jake. Saves the day and acts like it was nothing. Jake sat down next to his friend. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Whatever they were doing to me before, they stopped. The Queen herself came and ordered it." Ryan looked at Jake with knowing eyes. "That was you, was it not? You made her do that." "I asked her to help. She listened. More than listened. They treat you differently now. I can see it in how the guards look at me. They are afraid of what you might do if they hurt me." Ryan shook his head. "What happened to you, Jake? What did they turn you into?" Jake thought about the question. He looked at his hands. They were healed now. No sign of the cuts and bruises from the battle. The serum had made him stronger than he had ever been. But it was more than that. He was connected to the Queen in ways he still did not fully understand. "I do not know," he finally answered. "But I am going to use whatever I have become to get us home." Ryan nodded. "I believe you. Just promise me one thing." "What?" "When we get back to Earth, you are buying the first round of drinks." Jake smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since waking up on this ship. "Deal," he said. Days passed on the alien ship. Jake did not know how many because there was no sun to tell him when morning came and when night fell. The Kethari did not seem to sleep the way humans did. They rested in short periods throughout what they called a cycle, which Jake guessed was their version of a day. He was no longer kept in the room where he had woken up. The Queen had ordered that he be given proper quarters near her own chambers. His new room was large and filled with strange furniture that looked like it had grown from the floor rather than been built. The bed was soft and warm and shaped itself to his body when he lay on it. There was a window that showed the stars outside. They were different from the stars he knew. He was very far from home. The Queen visited him often. She wanted to teach him about her people. She wanted him to understand why they had taken him and what they needed from him. The Kethari had once been the strongest empire in this part of the galaxy. They had conquered 40 star systems and ruled over billions of their kind. But something had gone wrong. Over thousands of years, their males had grown weaker. Their bodies could no longer produce strong offspring. The children born were sickly and died young. The population was falling. The empire was dying. They searched for answers across the stars. They studied hundreds of species, looking for one that might be compatible with their biology. They found humanity. Human males were strong in ways the Kethari had not seen before. Their genetic material was different but could be made to work with Kethari, females through the serum they had created. But the process was dangerous. Most humans died when given the serum. Those who survived were usually too weak to be of any use. Jake was the first one whose body had not just survived but thrived, and the bond. That was something no one had expected. The bond connects us at the deepest level, Verena explained during one of her visits. I can feel what you feel. When you are angry, there is fire in my chest. When you are calm, I feel peace. This has never happened before with any of the test subjects. Why me? Jake asked. What makes me different? We do not know, the Queen admitted. Perhaps it is something in your blood. Perhaps it is your will. You have a strength inside you that goes beyond your muscles. A refusal to break. This is rare among any species. Jake thought about her words. He had always been stubborn. His father used to say he was too stubborn for his own good. Maybe that stubbornness was what had saved him. Not everyone on the ship was happy about his new status. Commander Zeth made that very clear. Zeth was the Queen's military advisor and the leader of her personal guard. He was older than the other Cathari Jake had seen, his shell marked with scars from many battles. He walked with a slight limp but carried himself with the pride of a warrior. One evening, Zeth came to Jake's quarters. He did not knock. He simply walked in and stood in the middle of the room with his arms crossed. "You should not be here," Zeth said. His English was better than the Queen's, though still strange. "You should be in a cage like the other animals we have collected." Jake stood up from where he had been sitting. He was not afraid of this creature. "I am not an animal." "You are exactly an animal," Zeth replied. "A useful animal, perhaps. But do not think that your bond with the Queen makes you important. You are a tool, nothing more. When your usefulness ends, so will your life. Is that a threat?" "It is a promise." Zeth stepped closer. His black eyes were cold and hard. "The Queen is young. She is ruled by hope and desperation. She sees something in you that is not there. But I have fought wars for longer than your species has known fire. I know what you are." Jake did not back down. He met the commander's gaze without flinching. "I did not ask to be here. I did not ask for this bond. But I am not going to let you or anyone else treat me like property." Zeth stared at him for a long moment. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Perhaps there is something to you after all. We will see." He turned and walked out without another word. Jake let out a breath he had not known he was holding. He was making enemies on this ship, but he was also starting to understand how things worked here. The next day, he asked the Queen about other humans on the ship. He remembered that he had not been alone when the creatures attacked San Diego. There had been other Marines with him, other soldiers who had fought and fallen. Verena hesitated before answering. "There are others. Not many. Most did not survive the serum." "How many?" 7 are still alive. They are being held in a different part of the ship. I want to see them." The Queen was quiet. Jake could feel something through the bond. Conflict. She was torn between her desire to keep him happy and some other concern he did not understand. "One of them is someone you know," she finally said. "A soldier called Ryan Cole. He was captured alongside you." Jake's heart jumped. Ryan was his friend. They had served together for 3 years. They had saved each other's lives more than once. "Is he okay?" "He is alive. But the serum did not work as well on him. He is weak, and the scientists continue to run tests." Verena looked away. "I cannot promise he will survive. Take me to him, now." "The bond does not give you authority over me," the Queen said. But her voice was soft. She could feel his worry, his fear for his friend. After a moment, she nodded. "I will take you to see him. But only to see. You cannot interfere with the work being done." They walked through the ship together. Jake saw more of the Cathari than he had before. They stopped and stared as the Queen passed with a human at her side. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. Word of Jake's fight had spread through the ship. They knew what he could do. The section where the human prisoners were kept was darker and colder than the rest of the ship. Jake was led to a room with a window looking into a small cell. Inside he saw Ryan. His friend looked terrible. He was thin and pale. His arms were covered in marks from needles. He lay on a hard bed, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes. He looked like a ghost of the man Jake remembered. "Ryan," Jake said, putting his hand on the glass. Ryan turned his head slowly. When he saw Jake, life came back to his eyes. He sat up and moved to the window. His movements were slow and painful. "Jake?" Ryan's voice was weak, but there was hope in it. Is that really you? It is me. I am going to get you out of here. How? These things, they keep putting stuff in me. It hurts, Jake. It hurts so much. Jake turned to the Queen. His fists were clenched at his sides. Stop the experiments. Stop hurting him. Verena met his gaze. The experiments are necessary. Without them, he will die anyway. Then find another way. A better way. I do not care what it takes. He's my friend, and I will not watch him suffer. The Queen was silent. The bond between them pulsed with emotion. Jake's anger and pain flowed into her. She felt it all. Finally, she nodded. I will speak to the scientists. I will see what can be done. It was not a promise, but it was a start. Jake looked back at Ryan through the glass. Hold on, he said. I am going to save you. I swear it. Ryan managed a weak smile. I believe you. You always were too stubborn to quit. Jake put his hand on the glass. On the other side, Ryan did the same. Their palms lined up through the barrier between them. Jake did not know how he was going to keep his promise, but he knew that he would find a way. He had to. 3 weeks after the battle, a human ship arrived in HFY space. Jake was on the command deck with the Queen when the sensors picked it up. It was small compared to the massive HFY warships, but it moved with a speed and grace that impressed even the alien officers. It came under a flag of truce, broadcasting a message on all frequencies. This is Admiral Tessa Grant of the Earth Defense Force, the message said. We are here to negotiate the return of our people. We mean no harm, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if attacked. The Queen looked at Jake. He could feel her uncertainty through the bond. She had never dealt with humans who were not prisoners. This was new territory for her. Let them come, Jake said. This could be good for both of us. Verena gave the order. The human ship was allowed to approach and dock with the Veltharan. An hour later, Admiral Grant and a small team of soldiers were brought to the command deck. Tessa Grant was a woman in her 50s with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many wars. She wore a uniform covered in medals and walked with the confidence of someone who was used to being in command. When she saw Jake standing next to the alien Queen, her eyes widened slightly. Sergeant Morrison, she said. We thought you were dead. I am not easy to kill, Jake replied. Grant looked him over. She could see that something was different about him. He stood taller. His muscles were bigger. There was a look in his eyes that had not been there before. What have they done to you? She asked. It is a long story, but I am okay. Better than okay, actually. Grant turned her attention to the Queen. I am here to demand the release of all human prisoners on this ship. What was done is an act of war. Earth will not forget what you did. Verena stepped forward. Her movements were calm and measured. I understand your anger. What we did was wrong. We were desperate and we acted without honor. But the situation is more complicated than you know. Then explain it to me. The Queen explained everything. She told Grant about the dying HFY species. She told her about the Nethver and the war that had lasted for centuries. She told her about the serum and how they had searched for a compatible species to save their people. Grant listened without interrupting. Her face was hard and unreadable. When Verena finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. So you kidnapped our soldiers to breed with them, Grant said. Her voice was cold. That is what I am hearing. It was wrong, Verena admitted. I do not deny this. But we were facing extinction. We made terrible choices because we saw no other path. That does not excuse what you did. No, it does not. The Queen bowed her head. I offer you my deepest apology on behalf of my empire. And I offer you something more. What? An alliance. The room went silent. Grant stared at the Queen like she had just said the craziest thing in the galaxy. Jake stepped forward. "Admiral, I know this sounds insane, but hear her out. The Nethfer are coming for Earth next. I have seen what they can do. They make the Cathari raid on San Diego look like nothing. If they get to Earth before we are ready, they will destroy everything." Grant looked at him. "How do you know this?" "Because I fought them. 3 weeks ago, a Nethfer fleet attacked this ship. I killed over 20 of them myself. They are strong, Admiral. Stronger than anything we have faced. But they can be beaten. The Cathari know how to fight them. They have technology we have never dreamed of. Together we can stop them." Grant was silent. She was thinking hard. Jake could see the calculations happening behind her eyes. She was weighing the risks and the benefits. "You are asking me to form an alliance with the aliens who kidnapped our people," she said slowly. "I am asking you to protect Earth," Jake replied. "I hate what they did. I hate that I was taken from my home and turned into something I did not ask to become. But I have seen the bigger picture now. The Nethfer are coming. We can fight them alone and lose, or we can fight them together and have a chance to win." The Queen spoke again. "I will release all human prisoners who wish to return to Earth. I will offer reparations for what we have done. I will share our technology and our knowledge. In exchange, I ask only for volunteers. Humans who will choose to join our fight. We will not force anyone." "And what about him?" Grant nodded toward Jake. "Will you release him too?" Verena hesitated. Jake felt a pulse of emotion through the bond. Fear, sadness, loss. "The bond between us cannot be broken," the Queen said softly. "If Jake leaves, we both die. He is free to do what he wishes within that limit. But he cannot return to Earth permanently." Grant's eyes hardened. "So you have enslaved him?" "No." Jake spoke before Verena could reply. "I am not a slave. I did not choose this bond, but I have accepted it. The Queen has treated me with respect. She has listened to me. She stopped the experiments on my friend because I asked her to. This is not slavery. It is something else. Something I am still trying to understand." Grant looked at him for a long time. She was trying to see if he was lying or if he had been brainwashed somehow. Finally, she seemed to accept that he was speaking the truth. "I cannot make this decision alone," she said. "I need to take this proposal back to Earth. The leaders of our world will have to vote on it." "That is fair," Verena said. "Take the time you need. But know that time is running out. The Nethfer are gathering their forces. A great attack is coming. If we are not ready, everything will be lost." Grant nodded. She looked at Jake one more time. "Are you sure about this, Sergeant? You could come home. We could find a way to break this bond." Jake thought about it. He thought about Earth. He thought about the life he had left behind. Then he thought about the Nethfer and what they would do to his planet if they won. "If I leave, I die," he said. "But even if I could go back, I am not sure I would. Not yet. There's work to be done here. I can do more good fighting alongside the Cathari than I can do sitting on Earth waiting for the war to come." Grant sighed. "You always were one of my most stubborn soldiers. That is what everyone keeps telling me." The Admiral almost smiled. "I will take your proposal to the Council. I cannot promise they will accept it. But I will tell them what I have seen here today. I will tell them about you." She turned and walked toward the door with her team. At the entrance, she stopped and looked back. "Morrison." "Yes, Admiral?" "If I do not see you again, know that you have made your planet proud. Whatever happens next, you did the right thing." Then she was gone. Jake stood on the command deck and watched through the window as the human ship undocked and flew away. It got smaller and smaller until it was just a dot of light among the stars. The Queen came to stand beside him. She said nothing. She did not need to. He could feel what she was feeling through the bond. Gratitude, hope, and something else that was harder to name. "Do you think they will accept the alliance?" she asked finally. "I do not know," Jake said honestly. "Humans are stubborn and proud. They do not forgive easily. But they are also practical. When they see what the Nethver can do, they will understand that we need each other. And if they say no?" Jake looked at her. "Then we fight the Nethver without them. And we probably lose. But we will not stop trying until the very end." Verena nodded. There was admiration in her eyes. "Your species is strange. You never know when to give up." Jake smiled. "That is what makes us dangerous." 6 months had passed since Admiral Grant took the Alliance proposal back to Earth. In that time, everything changed. Earth's leaders had debated for weeks. Some wanted war with the Cathari. Others wanted to hide and hoped the Nethver would never find them. But in the end, the truth was too powerful to ignore. The Nethver were coming. Humanity needed allies. That the first group of human volunteers arrived on Cathari ships. 500 men and women who had been given the choice and said yes. They went through the serum process. Some did not survive. Most did. They became stronger and faster than any normal human. They called themselves the Terran Legion. Ryan Cole was among them. The serum that had nearly killed him before now worked properly. The Cathari scientists had learned from their mistakes. They had improved the process thanks to what they had learned from Jake. Ryan came out of the treatment a new man. Stronger, faster, ready to fight. "Feels good to not be dying anymore," Ryan said when he found Jake on the training grounds. Jake grinned and grabbed his friend in a tight hug. "I told you I would get you out of there." "You did. Took your time about it, though." They laughed. It felt good to laugh. There had not been much to laugh about lately. Jake had changed in other ways too. He was no longer just a soldier on the Cathari ship. He was an advisor to the Queen. His voice mattered in war councils. When he spoke, even Commander Zeth listened. The bond between Jake and Verena had grown deeper. He understood her better now. He knew when she was worried before she said anything. He knew when she was happy or sad or afraid. And she knew the same about him. Some of the Cathari whispered that there was more between them than just the bond. They said the Queen had feelings for the human. Feelings that went beyond what the bond required. Jake did not know if the whispers were true. He did not know what he felt himself. Everything was complicated now, but there was no time to figure it out. The Nethver were making their move. Reports came in from across the galaxy. The enemy was gathering the largest fleet anyone had ever seen. 300 warships. Maybe more. They were heading for the Cathari homeworld. This was going to be the final battle. The war that had lasted centuries would end here. One way or another. Jake stood on the bridge of the Velthoran as the ship jumped to the homeworld. He watched through the window as the planet came into view. It was beautiful. Blue and green like Earth, but with 3 moons hanging in the sky. Billions of Cathari lived on that world. If the Nethver won, they would all die. The enemy fleet arrived a day later. Jake had seen videos of the Nethver ships before, but seeing them in person was different. They were massive, covered in spikes and weapons. They blocked out the stars when they moved. There were so many of them that they looked like a wall of metal moving through space. "All ships, prepare for battle," the Queen commanded. Her voice was calm, but Jake could feel her fear through the bond. She was good at hiding it from everyone else. The Cathari fleet moved to meet the enemy. Human ships were there too, smaller and faster than the alien vessels. The Terran Legion was spread across a dozen warships, ready to board enemy vessels when the chance came. Then the shooting started. Space lit up with weapons fire. Ships on both sides exploded into flames. The noise inside the Velthoran was deafening. Alarms and shouts and the constant thunder of weapons. Jake watched as Nethver boarding pods flew toward the Cathari ships. They were targeting the Queen's vessel. They wanted to cut off the head of the Empire. "They are coming for us," he said. Verena nodded. "Then we will give them a fight they will never forget." The boarding pods crashed into the ship at 6 different points. Nethver soldiers poured into the corridors. But this time, things were different. This time, the humans were waiting. Ryan led a squad of Terran Legion soldiers against the first wave of boarders. They hit the Nethver like a hammer. The enemy expected to find weak Cathari defenders. Instead, they found humans who were just as strong as they were, and twice as angry. Jake left the bridge and went to face the enemy himself. He took the same energy blade he had used months ago. It felt right in his hand, like it belonged there. He found a group of Nethver trying to break through to the engine room. There were 20 of them. He killed them all. The battle raged across the ship and across space. Ships burned and died on both sides. But slowly the tide began to turn. The Nethver had expected an easy victory. They had expected the Cathari to be weak and alone. They had not expected humans. The Terran Legion fought with a fury that shocked the enemy. Every time the Nethver thought they had the advantage, the humans pushed back. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They kept fighting until they won or died. And they won more than they died. Jake pushed deeper into the enemy lines. He was looking for something. Someone. Through the chaos of battle, he had seen a Nethver ship dock directly with the Velthoran. It was the enemy flagship. Their warlord was on board. If Jake could kill the warlord, the battle would be over. He fought his way through the docking tube and onto the enemy vessel. The inside of the Nethver ship was hot and smelled like sulfur. Bodies lay everywhere. Some Cathari, some human. Mostly Neth VOR. He found the warlord on the command deck. The creature was huge, 10 feet tall and covered in scars. It wore armor made from the bones of its enemies. When it saw Jake, it laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. "A human," the warlord said. Its voice was deep and harsh. "You are the one they call the bonded one, the one who has killed so many of my soldiers. And I am about to kill one more," Jake said. The warlord swung a massive axe at him. Jake dodged and struck back with his blade. The fight was brutal. The warlord was the strongest enemy Jake had ever faced. Every hit felt like being struck by a truck. Every block sent shockwaves up his arms. But Jake had something the warlord did not. He had the bond. Across the ship, the Queen closed her eyes and reached out through their connection. She sent her strength to him. Her focus. Her will. Jake felt it pour into him like fire. He moved faster. He hit harder. The warlord could not keep up. Jake's blade found the gap in the creature's armor. It sank deep into the warlord's chest. The creature roared in pain and fell to its knees. Jake looked into the warlord's eyes. "This war is over," he said. Then he pulled his blade free and the warlord fell. Without their leader, the Nethver fleet fell apart. Ships began to retreat. Some tried to fight on, but they were cut down by the combined forces of the Cathari and humans. By the time the battle ended, the enemy was broken. Jake stood on the bridge of the Velthoran as the last Nethver ship fled into the darkness. His body ached. He was covered in blood and bruises. But he was alive. They had won. Verena came to stand beside him. She was tired too. The bond had taken a lot out of both of them. But there was joy in her eyes that Jake had never seen before. "We did it," she said softly. "We did." She looked at him. Really looked at him. "You saved us. You saved my people. I do not know how to thank you." Jake smiled. Just keep your word. The alliance between our species. Make it real. Make it last. I will. I swear it. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The war was over. A new chapter was beginning. After a while, Ryan found them. He was beaten up, but grinning like a fool. Not bad for a bunch of humans, huh? Ryan said. Not bad at all, Jake agreed. So what happens now? We won the big battle. War is over. What do we do? Jake thought about it. He looked at the queen standing beside him. He looked at his friend who had followed him into an alien war. He looked at the stars that now belonged to both species. Now we build something new, he said. Together. Lorena nodded. Her hand found his and held it gently. The bond between them hummed with warmth, thought the future was uncertain. There would be challenges ahead. Not everyone would accept the alliance. Not everyone would trust the new partnership between humans and Cathari. But for now, they had won. They had survived. And they had proven something important. Humanity was not just another species in the galaxy. They were fighters, survivors, warriors who refused to quit no matter the odds. And now the whole galaxy knew it.